the last little chunk of this. So how to create an idea ecosystem. So this part is less about like the specific steps that you can take, and hopefully through everything we've covered, you have something that you can grab onto and use, because the real goal, like I've definitely done these creative workshops before where you get out of it and it's like you feel really great and free and whatnot, and you've drawn on newsprint with markers and blah, blah, blah. But fundamentally the next day, nothing has changed. You just loosened up for 10 minutes for whatever reason, because it was like work required you to do that. I think like you can change your process almost immediately and see results. So I think if you can find something you can use in here, when you figure out how to slot it into the way that your brain works, you should be able to run with it very quickly, like if you're willing to. It also requires being willing to do a project differently than you've normally done it, and maybe it doesn't turn out awesome. And like accepting, well, I tried something different with like an open mind and it turned out weird, fine, who cares? Even Dr. Seuss wrote The Cat in the Hat Comes Back. That book sucks. You know, like sometimes people do bad work. It's gonna happen. So how to create an idea ecosystem. Be self-reflective. This doesn't mean like be engaged in navel gazing. Find some avenue that allows you to conscientiously reflect on process. For me, I've been lucky, it's teaching. You have to reflect on process because people are constantly asking you how to deal with a situation, and you at least have to think about it, even if you have no idea how to deal with it. The other thing that I did was I started a podcast about like teaching. All of a sudden, for an hour and a half, I was having an intense conversation about process and teaching. I do a video blog. For a while, I did it daily. Like, man alive, was I doing a lot of self-reflecting during that time. The benefit of that is that a lot of the things I think I figured out that at least work for me, they came from this constant talking. They weren't, again, epiphanies, right? They were like thinking something through. Why is this working versus this? Like, why do I suddenly like doing photography when I hated it as a student? Oh, because like I was attached to this, or I thought it had to be something. I thought it had to be conceptual. So being self-reflective in a productive way, not in a like trying to sound super smart and theoretical and blah, 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 but in a way of saying, okay, this year I did this project and it happened like this and it turned out this way. 2 years ago, I did a similar project. It turned out differently. Why? Like, what did I do then that I didn't do now? What was I thinking then that I wasn't thinking now? It sounds like a drag, but the way to do it is to find like a fun way. So find a recurring form of some kind. I seriously think everybody should do a video blog because it's like just the most friction-free thing. Grab your phone, talk into it. Don't share it with anyone if you don't want to. Just record it for yourself and later look back on it and be like, you know, if you made a video blog for 2 minutes every day of the thing that was on your mind at 11:40 a.m., you would start to think differently about your work. You would become more self-reflective without doing some pretentious thing of being like, I really feel like I need to reflect more upon my artwork. Yeah, like you don't want to do that. You want to do it in a way that's natural, that the byproduct is that you're more self-reflective. But maybe it's like you meet up with 2 or 3 people and you just show whatever you're working on and you talk about it. And by hearing about their process versus your process, answers start to become illuminated. Read as much about creative process as possible. And it doesn't have to be artists. Like, read interviews with people where they talk about what they do or how they think about it. Like I just saw, I had some quote in my Evernote of a photographer just talking about keeping boxes of stuff. And I was like, oh man, that's totally how I see this thing. I didn't realize it. Or like I've seen interviews with chefs and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I get that. Or wait, I've never thought about that way. There's a corollary to my work. Not like, I mean, you can read motivational stuff, but like look for the stuff where someone tactically describes what they think about and what steps they take to do something, and you will see how you do it differently, or you'll get vindicated. If you're super insecure, it's really helpful to know that William Burroughs has the same dumbass process you do, Like, oh, look out the window, sick. Like, that's such a good feeling to know I'm in the company of greatness. I have lots of input. So like, be looking at a lot of different stuff, like absorbing a lot of different culture. I think a lot of times people will say like, to kill creative block, read a book about engineering or something. I still don't think that deals with creative block, but I do think that makes you better at coming up with ideas, because again, you're making connections between lots of different things. This was a quote, another Burroughs quote. I make this a practice when I walk down the street. I'll say, when I got to here, I saw that sign and I was thinking this. And then when I get home, I'll type those up. So like, he'll look for like a trigger in the environment, and that trigger becomes, okay, what are you thinking about? Capture that and file it for later. Some of the materials I use and some I don't. I have literally thousands of pages of notes here, raw, and I keep a diary as well. In a sense, it's traveling in time. Very self-reflective too, but not attached to, I need to have a good idea when I walk out the house, just like coming up with triggers for creative work to take place. And then there's this other thing I really liked here, and he just was talking about how, I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but how he'll be out with people and they don't notice anything that's going on around them. And he says, for example, a friend of mine has a loft in New York. He said, every time we go out of the house and come back, if we leave the bathroom door open, there's a rat in the house. I look out the window, there's Able Pest Control. Like, so he leaves the house, the pest control people come over and put a rat in his house so that they have to call him. Like, that's like the way he's trained his mind to look for connections, even if they're sort of absurd, because you could imagine, if you've read William Burroughs' work, this is a scenario that sounds like it's out of one of his books. Expand what is possible. I tend not to be able to do or think anything if I haven't seen an example of it before. So when we were talking about the stuff we could do in the building, I was like, what if you put mirrors on it? What if you do this? What if you do that? That's largely because a lot of my work involves looking at a physical space and then spending a lot of time like in Pinterest, looking at architecture and art installations. So like I've started to train myself to see space and think about it in new or different avenues, or to instinctively go like, at the very least, mirrors would be cool, because like mirrors are cool anywhere. Like you put a mirror on an object, that object is awesome. So it's not like I wasn't coming up with any ideas. Like all I was doing was capturing, I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this, like just kind of capturing stuff. But that comes from looking at lots of things or absorbing lots of stuff. Other people probably can go, just think of something and have like super creative ideas, but I don't think I do. I think I just regurgitate back what I've already seen, but hopefully doing it in a new context, like add something to it. Abandon bad and good. I think the healthiest thing you can do is not even ever worry about even if the byproducts of your work are good. If you simply go like, the way I did this project was open to the process, it was authentic, I wasn't copying, it wasn't derivative, blah, blah, blah. And it led somewhere unexpected that you just go, cool, it must be good. Not to look at it and then go, okay, well, I did this, is it good? My measure of is it good is during the process, did I enjoy doing it? Was it gratifying in some way? And was I 100% committed in however much time I spent on it? So this class, I have no idea how it's going. As far as I'm concerned, this class is awesome. It's awesome because I'm doing the absolute best I can do. And I know that I'm engaged. I haven't given a thought to anything else in the world really for the last, whatever it's been, 2.5 hours or however long it's been. So therefore, it's good. Even if you all give me feedback to say it's bad, you're not going to convince me otherwise. This to me is the way you can solve any sort of creative problem and kind of put yourself in a different zone. There's this band, Self-Defense Family, and they completely changed how I see creative work. The way that they work is they're going to record a record. The members are scattered throughout the US and some of them are in Europe. Their label says like, you should do a new record. And they're like, yeah, we should do a new record. So they book studio time and then they say, out of the 12 people that collectively make the band, who can be in New York March 22nd through March 24th to record like a single. And whoever can be there shows up. They don't practice, and they're not like a jazz group. They're like a normal rock group that writes songs. The members that play instruments get to the studio in the morning, and they work all day writing and recording the song. They go to dinner. The singer sits in the booth, listens to the song on loop, writes down the lyrics of whatever they're going to be at that moment, and then records them while everyone is gone because he doesn't want anyone around when he records. They come back. They have no say over the vocals. He has no say over the music. They all agree that this is how it works, and then the song is done. The conversation of, is this good? It's a non-issue to them. The assumption is we were committed, we were engaged, it captured where we're at, therefore it's good. And that is their entire writing process. And I think it's cool is eventually you go from a normal process of a band gets together, they write songs, they rehearse, they edit, they blah, blah, blah. Once you switch the process, and if the process works for you, like you actually like it, if you hate that, don't be in self-defense family, right? But if you do that and you find it invigorating and fun and worthwhile, and that you listen to your songs and you're like, man, I can't believe we wrote this song, your process will then bend to adjust to that. So they did a record where they wrote the record on a tour. They would do like 2 days at a studio, write 2 of the songs, play a show or play 2 or 3 shows, go to another studio, write 2 more songs, record them, they're done. And they did that to write an album. And it's like funny because I've never seen a band before who like the record comes out and they're like, oh yeah, I don't like that song. Like on their own record, they'll be like, I don't like the song. And they'll be like, I don't mean it's not good. The song is good. I just personally don't like it. But it like, whatever, what do I care? Like I did the best I could that day. And I think for me, that was a huge thing because the way I used to work was I would do whatever I did. And then when it was done, I'd be like, oh, I don't like this, or like, I don't like that spot. And I would just kind of like constantly think everything I made sucked. And once in a while, I'd think something was good. And then once I sort of switched it and really started to say like, the process is the thing that matters. I'm going to own whatever comes out at the end, as long as I believe in the process. Then all of a sudden, like creative block is non-existent. Like you can't have creative block if you embrace that whatever's happening right now is the only thing that matters. Like it's impossible to have that. And if you get rid of the idea that this needs to be good, it needs to be innovative, it needs to be smart, it needs to be creative, it needs to be groundbreaking, and all those it needs to be's, once those are gone, like you're left with nothing but what is the manner in which I like to work. And then boom, like no creative block, no bad work. It's all good, just some of it you don't like. Like I do a lot of photography. Some of it I don't like. I 100% think every frame was good. It's just what came out of it didn't match my particular aesthetic vision. But I would never be like, oh man, this all sucks. I just go like, oh, I don't like any of the photos today. Weird. Maybe I'll still share them, maybe I won't. But it's just like, it was such a helpful kind of mindset switch. And then running along with that is just the idea of going into things with that funnel, instead of I need one great idea and then I need it to be awesome at the end, but instead to say I need lots of ideas. Because once you say you need lots of ideas, you stop worrying about whether they're good. Because like if you decide you need 100 ideas to start a project, after 4, good is out the window. Like, because now it's just like an endurance game. But once you do that, you're going to get to interesting spots. And then there's something that kind of changes, like as a designer, if you only have one idea and you present it to the client and they reject it, that's a huge problem because you gave them the one idea you believed in and thought was good, and then they reject it, and you're like, oh my God, it was really difficult to get to that one. How am I going to get to another one? But when you're at a point where you say like, the goal is to have a lot, just a lot, whatever it is, 5, 10, 15, and then if the process is built in the way where it works for you so that you can easily make another 5, 10, or 15, rejection is, again, like, it's not a problem. Like, I used to get so distraught over it, and now it's like, whatever, dude. There's the other ideas I didn't show you just because there were too many. It wasn't like these 3 were the good ones. It was like there's 12 and someone told me I shouldn't show you more than 3. I kind of wish maybe I had. So, but that's like getting out of we need to knock this out of the park. It needs to be great. If you put that effort on like just a massive quantity over quality funnel, and then hope that the way you edit brings the quality to the forefront, I tend to think that'll work. Oh, and then subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I talk about this stuff a lot, too much. But I think it's tremendously important, and I think it can radically change your general level of happiness in doing creative work. Like if you procrastinate a lot, or you're constantly disappointed with your work, reframing either the process or the way you view the process suddenly changes. Like you love everything you make. It's just that some of it you don't like, but you love that you made it. It's like a baby that's giving you a hard time. You love the baby. You just wish the baby would shut up right now. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about like a lot of photography and stuff. So on that front, thank you for that part. Okay. Any questions or like